Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with accurate and timely information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. Today we'll be discussing an exciting new initiative, the Grade 7 Academy. This is a transformational project launched by the Ministry of Education in partnership with St. Michael's College. Now, this program aims to support some of the most underserved and vulnerable students in our educational system, particularly those who have recently entered high school with very low levels of literacy. 2 underperforming schools have been selected for this initiative, with one of them located in Kingston. Now, to delve deeper into this program, we're joined by Dr. Faith Alexander, Literacy Instructional Leader, and Mrs. Grace Baston, former principal of Campion College and project lead of the 7th Grade Academy. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Let's jump right into getting the facts. Lady Baston, I'd like to begin with you. Can you provide an overview of what Grade 7 Academy is and what it's meant to do?
Right, thank you, Theodore. So, the Grade 7 Academy. This intervention is meant to address, in a radical way, the problem of students entering high school, as you said in your introduction, with such low levels of literacy.
Right.
So, if, and Holy Trinity is not alone,
That's one
school
of the
we're
schools.
using in Kingston,
Okay,
the Holy Trinity
right.
High School. It's one of maybe 40 schools that have the same demographic, where students entering first form or grade 7, of the number, maybe 2 or 3% are reading at the level of proficiency you need to be able to engage the high school curriculum.
2 or 3%?
2 or 3%, right. So if a cohort, say, in 2023 of 200 students, that would have been about 3 or 4 students.
Wow.
And the majority of our children then reading at, grade 4, grade 3, grade 2, prima, pre-prima, or non-readers. Now, right, this is clearly something has gone wrong.
Right.
After 11 years, after, all their time in primary school.
Right.
Whatever time they had in basic school, 6, 7, 8 years, they ought to be reading at least at grade 6, grade 7. No fault of the children's. We're just accepting it's a systemic problem and a serious problem.
And we're here now. Okay.
And this is where we are. Mm-hmm. So this intervention is meant to do 2 things. First of all, the objectives are, 1, to move that percentage of children reading proficiently in that cohort from only 2% or 3% to 75% in 1 year.
Big jump.
Super ambitious,
Big
but
jump.
we believe very doable.
All right.
And secondly, to engage in a kind of a re-socialization of the students. A lot of these children come to us, very talented, wonderful, beautiful Jamaican children, but carry come with maladaptive behaviors. And some of it compounded, of course, by the fact that they're not reading.
Right.
Then there are the issues of how they feel about themselves and so on. So the program aims to do as well. It's going to improve literacy and numeracy in 1 year in a very dramatic way. But 2, it is going to provide these children with an intense, rigorous program of character formation and personal development. It's very grounded in Christian values.
And I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But you mentioned 2 schools. I mentioned 2 schools and you mentioned 2 schools. Holy Trinity, 1.
Right.
Who's the second?
The second one, which will have a delayed start, is the Newell High School in St. Elizabeth.
Newell in St. Elizabeth. Dr. Alexander, I want to bring you in here. Now, what specific challenges? I heard the numbers, but talking about Holy Trinity, how does the Grade 7 Academy, this plan, this ambitious 1-year plan, what are the details of addressing this literacy issue?
So one of the things that we'll be doing with addressing the low levels of literacy is using a framework called the Science of Reading, which we can expound on later,
Sure.
which was used with exceptional, exceptional success in Mississippi.
Mississippi, okay.
And so our program is grounded in the Science of Reading. Additionally, the children will be participating in technology to practice those skills that they would have learned, that would have been directly taught. So every day the kids will be playing in a sort of gamified way for an hour every day for both math and literacy.
Coming to school to play. I like it. I like it. So, and you mentioned something which I find very important, that this has been tested and proven.
Yes.
You mentioned Mississippi.
Yes.
I want to come back to you now, Mrs. Baston. Now, public and private partnerships, you hear a lot about this stuff, and a project like this sounds very ambitious.
Right.
So I'm assuming that there is quite a bit of partnerships. Can you tell us a bit about
Right. So the ministry has been wonderful in first of all, our biggest partner, in allowing us to suspend the normal curriculum. Instead of these children doing 15 subjects, and they've allowed us in this program to concentrate on the literacy and numeracy. Obviously, when the children are doing literacy, it's touching themes that have to do with science, touching themes that have to do with social studies, touching the themes in civics, all the things we care about, but it's unapologetically about literacy.
Right, so we have the ministry.
Every single day, 5 days a week, twice a day.
Right.
And then enriched, obviously, with drama and dance and so on. So the ministry is a huge partner. And have agreed to some of the, providing us with the teachers we need for the program. But things like the software that the children are going, the gamified software to which Dr. Alexander referred, it's at the heart of the transformation, right? Of getting the results we want. That's a huge cost. So we're seeking partnerships to help us to afford that. There's already the cost of coordinating the program, because those posts are not ministry-funded positions. There are the nutritional support. A huge part of getting this thing to be successful is having children come to school. And some of that has to do with being able to provide for them nutritious meals during the day. So the ministry will provide what it can, but again, we're reaching out to private partners to help us to do that.
Excellent. We're only halfway done. Please stay with us, because we're continuing our discussion with Literacy Instructional Leader Dr. Faith Alexander, lead of the 7th Grade Academy, Mrs. Grace Baston, right after this break. Stay tuned to get the facts for more insights into the Grade 7 Academy program. Welcome back to Get the Facts. What we know so far is that the Grade 7 Academy program aims to elevate the majority of Grade 7 students in underperforming schools. Now, the goal is to get them to at least Grade 7 literacy and numeracy standards by the end of its first year. But how will this be achieved? Now, we'll get the answers from Dr. Faith Alexander and Mrs. Grace Baston. Dr. Alexander, I want to begin with you. The average day of this academy, Monday morning, bright and early, what's that day look like for the student?
Right. So what we have done is we have crafted the timetable so that there are 2 90-minute blocks of uninterrupted instruction for math and for literacy.
Right.
In addition to that, the children have, as I mentioned before, an hour of technology. So they have 2 90-minute blocks of academics and direct instruction. Then they go and they practice the skills that they were taught in those 2 classes in the lab.
Right.
Then there's also the Christian living, as Mrs. Baston mentioned, and also performing arts, whether it be music, dance, drama, or so on.
Okay.
Importantly, the curriculum does include science and social studies. So it's not just that the children are just doing language arts. But for instance, the first module works or speaks about natural disasters, which is apropos right now.
Right.
So the kids will be learning about hurricanes, what causes a hurricane, what is an earthquake, and so on. So you see the connection between science, social studies, and language. Yes.
And language. Right. You referenced a science reading framework that was proven very effective in Mississippi.
Yes.
You just touched on it, but I want you to dive into it.
All right.
Tell us about it.
So in 2012, Mississippi saw that they had a problem with literacy similar to Jamaica, and their demographics are similar to us in terms of socioeconomic status, population, and so on. And they decided to do something radical. So they did 3 things. They included the science of reading as their framework,
right,
and that speaks to phonics, phonemic awareness, comprehension, fluency, and so on. They also put in some laws which made 3rd grade mandatory for retention of the kids who are not performing. We are not there.
Right.
And then they did a lot of professional development, which we are also including in our program. After 4 years, they are now in the top 95 percentile So they are now ranked 5th in the United States after having implemented this program.
Right, right.
And so even with our technology that we're using, the technology does presuppose that after 60 hours of work on the technology, children should see we should see a gain of at least 4 grade levels in reading, because it works on auditory processing, the neuroplasticity, all about the brain science again. So we introduced the children on Monday to the software, and they are so excited. They want to know if they can come back at lunchtime.
Right,
Mister,
right.
like, will you be in the lab?
Yeah.
Work? Can we do this?
So it comes on in on a vehicle of fun.
Absolutely.
Right, right. Now, Mrs. Baston, you mentioned a program which I did not expect to hear
That's right.
in a school program. You said, let me make sure I get it right. It's the Christian Living Program.
That's right.
What's that about?
Right. So it's called Christian Living. So to be clear, it's not proselytizing. It's not about baptizing everybody and making them into Roman Catholics or any other denomination. But it is, again, explicitly about you grounding these children in our Christian values.
Western values.
There you go, on which our civilization is built up, right?
Right.
So the program is designed to meet the children at their level of psychosocial development. So they will be engaged in reflection sessions. They will be part of their Christian Living program because children don't learn values by you telling them to learn them. Everybody in here, we know value honesty. No.
Right, no.
You're going to give them opportunities to practice these values. They're going to be engaged in outreach ministry, visiting the sick and the poor in their community. This is to move them away from the idea that, I'm a victim, I have nothing to offer. They have so much to offer.
But Mrs. Baston, this sounds like you have you're deliberately working on forming character in these children.
This is what it is. It's a program of character formation. We are very clear. The end and aim of all education is the development of character.
That is fascinating. Dr. Alexander, we've heard about the students. They are the focus right now. You've mentioned the teachers. Do the parents have a role in this at all?
Yes. So a big part of our program is that we have our own clinical psychologist who is a part of the program. And her role is not only to help the children with their psychosocial development, but as outreach to the parents, because we need to engage the parents in our in this entire program so that they see the value of having their children being educated and to become better citizens.
Right. So leaders of this program, we're almost out of time. I have 2 more things to ask you. First being, how are we going to monitor and evaluate the success of this program?
That's right. So with the help of Dr. Henry, current principal of Campion College.
Oh, not me. No.
We have developed a very, and I think is an excellent monitoring structure and evaluation structure. Right. It will involve our teachers meeting. One of the good things about this software that we're using with the children is it provides us with data on every single child. Every single day we can see what progress Theodore has made. He's acquired 12 more vocabulary items. He's moved up there. So that every Friday then this team will meet because we're doing what we call cura personalis. This is about the individual child and his or her growth.
Right.
So every Friday there will be this meeting to discuss the progress or lack thereof of every child, as well as the ongoing formation of the staff in this. We have to report to St. Michael's, we have to report to the ministry. Those reports will come in a monthly, monthly. But because all the stakeholders are interested in this being scalable and replicable, we're documenting it, tracking it all along the way using this instrument that's been developed by Dr. Henry.
Great, great, great. All right, we're in the toenail of the interview. Is the last few seconds, but I have to give you the opportunity to speak directly to parents, interested teachers, other administrators. Dr. Alexander, you want to go first?
Sure. So we are passionate about the 7th grade academy, and we would like to see, as Mrs. Baston mentioned, scaled, because we know that this is at the heart of transformation.
Lady Baston.
Right. Same thing. We're very excited about it. It's ambitious. Everybody says 75%. Yes, we believe it. We believe, as I was thinking about this morning St. Edmund Campion's brag. Edmund Campion said, "The expense has been reckoned. The enterprise is begun. It is of God. It will not be withstood." So when you hear us coming around private sector to ask you to join us in partnership, say yes.
Say yes, say yes. All across the board, students, teachers, parents, private sector interests, say yes. This has been Get the Facts. So our guests today were Dr. Faith Alexander, Literacy Instructional Leader, and Mrs. Grace Baston, lead of the 7th Grade Academy, who provided valuable insights into the program itself. Thank you for watching, and on to the next time. I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.